Welcome to the Across the Bar podcast. I'm Peter Raybar.
And I'm Laura Brownstein. And it's good to see you, Peter. There's a lot happening in all of the things we're interested in today.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see you here. There's a lot going
know
on
what?
in the Laura Inc. world.
Let me just be clear. I've made time for you and Across the Bar today. There's,
Thank you. I feel
I'm rolling
very privileged.
calls, texting. Things are blowing up. But
Yeah, it's fun to watch your social activity that has nothing to do with me. You know, that's fun.
Are you like, why is she talking about that?
Don't worry, I'm not like a jealous co-host or anything. I'm just monitoring.
Just monitoring the scene. Understood. All right. So, you know that World War II saying there's nothing to fear but fear itself? Well, many tech companies this week are saying, actually, there is a lot to fear about AI. You should fear that you are going to lose your jobs, according to Andy Jassy at Amazon, that you are working more than ever, according to Microsoft, and even your dating is off from what we're seeing at Bumble. And if you know how to build AI, you might be worth $100 million. Like, there's so much going on this week that is all, I think, rippling out from the effect of AI and my bestie ChatGPT.
For sure, and that's a good overview of some of the topics for today. I've received some feedback that we talk too much about AI, but I think we're not talking enough about AI as a society. So there's some good topics today, and
we're talking about it with enough. There's enough volume of talk about it. We're just not actually getting any in how we're talking about it. Everyone's just kind of like, wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
Well, we'll see where we're getting. I mean, you started off talking about the infinite workday, and
Yes.
maybe that's somewhere where AI can help employees, and that's one of the areas where I've actually encouraged managers to look and say, where can we implement AI in our companies in a way that is helpful and additive to what our workers do instead of employees replacing them? And employees would welcome that, and I think it's a good way to get them familiar with AI and excited about learning how to use AI. And what this Microsoft study that was released just before we recorded our last episode says is basically that people are working harder than ever and working longer hours. And certainly this contradicts the messaging we hear from, Jamie Dimon and others who say people don't like to work and they're taking time off and whatever.
It's such a false narrative that people are being less productive because of not coming into work or any of these things. I think people are working harder than ever. Like they're more heading towards burnout than heading towards do nothing sick out.
Right. And infinite workday certainly is, a crash landing into burnout land. People are working late at night. They're being interrupted.
Working different hours because of AI?
Well, no, I don't. I mean, certainly some things can be made easier, and I make very limited use of AI, but really, I think this is where AI could be helpful. The things that are harmful to employees and causing the infinite workday are these relentless messaging apps like Slack and other messaging apps, where in this study, it says that employees are interrupted over 120 times a day by messages, like relentless messaging and discussions, relentless meetings.
From that focus jump, that like on nonstop focus shifting.
Well, it doesn't give you time to be creative or productive or really focus. I mean, I couldn't do my job that way. And so managers need to look at the takeaway for...
That's interesting. Do you turn off notifications when you're in heads down work periods or talking to a client?
Absolutely. I have to.
How do you make the focus function work for you?
Well, if I need to write something, which I often do as a lawyer, I will silence my notifications and I'll physically move my phone away from me.
Really? And
yes.
Do you set a certain amount of time? Do you say like, okay, an hour of heads down work and then I can re-engage?
Yes. And one thing also I've learned is that time management helps and scheduling helps. And some would say calendaring helps. So I will specify time.
That you're late, frequently tardy co-host?
Yeah. I mean, hopefully one day you'll get into the same mode, with respect to recording this podcast. But we're not there yet. We're trying to get you there. It's okay.
Just so you know, you're going to be shocked. You are not the very first person that's tried to get me to be a little bit more regimented and organized. So
It's good to hear. And
we'll see.
I mean it with the best of intentions, and really spirit. But there's lessons here for workers, and there's lessons here for executives, right? For workers, you really need to take steps to protect your space. And when I talk about calendaring and blocking time out on calendaring, that's important, especially if you're in a big company where people just look at your calendars and force meetings onto them and stuff.
I mean, that is part of life working in house someplace, but
right.
When meetings just show up on your calendar out of nowhere.
Yeah, it sucks. And so you need to be protective of your time and be mindful of that. And also you need to take care of yourself. I mean, if you're in it for the long term, which we all are, you can't burn the candle at both ends. I mean, when I was at the law firm, I used to work way late into the night and all-nighters and all that stuff. I would never do that now. And
how old are you then?
I don't have to.
Yeah.
In my 20s. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, my kids asked me the other day why I even did that in the first place. And I was like, well, I didn't want to get fired. So I did it.
Yeah.
For executives.
That's why Daddy did it.
Yeah. You like that vacation we just went on? Yeah. Didn't just pay for itself. But for executives, you have to be mindful of this. You have to know what your employees are going through. You have to know the challenges they're facing, and you need to adopt strategies to deal with them. I posted on LinkedIn in response to this, managers need to encourage vacations and time off, and also cut off times at night. I mean, some companies have rules that they won't, have meetings on certain days or emails.
I think AI is causing the problems of the infinite workday, almost because it used to be, okay, all my coworkers are done for the day. I put in my comments. I'm kind of done. Now you can sort of be iterating on something with ChatGPT for the next 2 hours.
Yeah.
And
well, people just need to
go down rabbit holes.
Yeah, people need to be guarded about that. And AI can help in a company setting by doing some of the tasks that would be helpful to employees, and sort of the lower level things that maybe take up time.
You mean administrative?
Administrative, exactly.
So what are some of the things you think are best for managers to?
Well, even simple things like filling out forms and benefits related issues and things like that.
Meeting notes, as you know, is one of
meeting notes. Yeah, big one
of it. I remember one of the places where I've run a big team, we had this whole meeting at one point of here's how to take notes on a meeting, because young employees had no idea how to do that. And now they're really not going to, because Zoom is going to take care of the AI.
Right.
Bot will take care of that for you.
Right. So there are applications that would be helpful and friendly and welcome to your employees. And I think that's a nice transition to our second, story of the week about this is Andy Jassy. And today, Mark Benioff of Salesforce talking about how AI is just replacing or will replace large portions of their workforce.
Oy.
And I think they call that AI scare.
Jassy gives no fucks. He's come back into work. Gonna fire a lot of you. Going to kind of a wedding this weekend in Venice. But you people should work harder. How do you give that message this week if you are running an aspect of Amazon? Gotta buckle down.
Well, Amazon's never really been a place that's ever cared about that stuff. And I've had a lot of clients, enter and leave there, and we've had discussions about this. I mean, they've become very successful through many different practices, but coddling employees is not one of them.
Not one of them. Well said.
And if you're going there, you just need to know that.
They do have a lot. They must have judged that they are fine with turnover, because they do. I don't have the exact numbers, but anecdotally, I feel like they have more senior level turnover than a lot of other tech companies, because people are this is not that fun.
Well, they are actually very open about how comfortable they are with turnover. And a couple of years ago, pre Andy Jassy, there was a movement there to just knock out 10% of the workforce through performance planning, which is not something Amazon created. I mean, that is
Oh,
something
that's
that
like
has
Six Sigma.
roots.
That's like Jack
Sure, Jack
Welch.
Welch, and yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things you hate about work, you can trace back to Jack Welch. So just remember that, everyone.
David
Someone who
Gallis.
was touted as a hero.
People should read David Gallis's book on it from a year or so two ago.
Oh, that's a great
Yeah.
book. Great book.
Yeah.
But they've been very open. And look, if you want to run your company that way, it is your right. You should be open about it. And
Yeah.
people will make decisions based on it. But don't be upset if people leave.
That's an important point. Just be open about it. I think that's the case with most things. If you're open about what's going on, no one can blame you for it.
Exactly.
Like, I've definitely worked places where the CEO was very clear. And actually, this is both big tech, unicorn startup kind of places I worked, where they were like, this isn't for everyone. If you don't want to work this hard, there's lots of other companies.
Yeah.
No wonder.
Sure.
Which was, yeah.
And so I would say the lesson here is with these statements about AI scare. I mean, first of all, if you want your employees to be excited about AI and embrace it and use it and innovate, then you shouldn't talk about it in scary terms and threatening terms. But also,
I don't think I would put it on managers. I think I would put it more on James Cameron, who created the idea of Skynet in Terminator. I think that is the OG that made people concerned that the robots were taking over. Well, I guess before that, Stanley Kubrick, he didn't help on that.
No, firm roots. But if you're certainly firm roots and look, we're in 2025 now. AI is here. It's a very real thing. A lot of money is being spent on it. Every company is going to be using it somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are ways for managers to speak more positively and productively about it to get employee buy-in. And also, I will say the other lesson for executives is don't just read what Andy Jassy says or Mark Benioff says and say, hey, I'm going to do that in my company. Do what's right for your company. You need to look at your workforce, how you're using AI, how you plan to use it, what you plan to do with staffing levels, and craft the appropriate message for your company.
Fashion and business, similar. Culottes might not work for you. Don't wear culottes. You have to do what works for you.
Right. And look, not everyone's going to get replaced by AI. And in fact, what OpenAI and Meta, there's a big recruiting war going on with $100 million bonuses for employees. So that's sort of the counter story here.
This is fascinating. This new trend. I would sort of put the acquisition of Johnny Ive's company by ChatGPT in the same bucket. Like they basically spent, how much money was that to get Johnny Ive?
Yeah.
Not for whatever that company was.
Acquihire, it's called. Yeah.
Acquihire.
Right.
Which sounds more like it takes place in the water, but that is what it's called.
That's another James Cameron movie.
That's a couple of them. Right?
Yeah, maybe there's a theme to this episode that we didn't quite plan. Here we go.
Okay. Across the bar and under the water.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the trends that I think is most upsetting is the lack of mating going on right now. Now, I am not a pronatalist like some tech patriarchy bro in any way, shape, or form. But I think humans are happier when they connect, mate, kiss, get it on in some way.
Get it on.
And
here comes the Cosmo moment.
Exactly.
Let's go. Embrace it.
The fact that Bumble sales are so far down and thus they are laying off 30% of their workforce, and I believe Match Group also just did a layoff, that is fascinating. This is an industry-wide issue that people are not using the apps as much, but also they're just not dating as much.
Well, I was going to ask you as the podcast's relationship expert, is it because people aren't using the apps, or is it because they have too many employees? Because the stock shot up on the news of the layoffs. So,
I've looked at the numbers, and across the board, dating apps are not doing as well. They are not making the same revenue numbers. I mean, one of the big issues is the freemium model that so many of them use now. It's like getting it is free, but for almost any functionality, you need to pay more. And people
mhm.
are just saying, meh. But I also think there's a lot of like swiping and then finding yourself watching a cooking video, and then suddenly you're like finding out what squirrels think at night, and you forgot all about dating.
Right. It's,
Or
lo- it's
even
lost its
worse,
appeal to squirrel videos.
I'm just saying, cute furry things doing things.
Right.
But also, I know right now it's just a few funny stories of people thinking they're in love with their AI, but this, I think, is going to be more of a problem than we're anticipating. I think one of the many seismic shifts we're going to have to deal with is interpersonal engagement shifting based on how people are engaging with their AI. What do you think?
I mean, there is that movie not
Her.
directed by James Cameron called Her, where the
Yep.
was right on target.
Yeah.
Um, but look, I mean, a
Except the first
30.
thing she did was clean up his address book. And I have yet to encounter anything that it can clean up my address book or the 643,102 unread emails I have in my Gmail.
Oh my God, that gives
I'll
me a
get
lot
back
of
to you soon.
stress. That gives me a lot of stress.
Yeah.
It's
So,
probably why I never email you. We just text.
yeah.
Um, Look, a 30% reduction in any company's workforce is an indicator that something's not working in the business model. That's not just a trimming of the workforce. That's a pretty significant sign that something's not working and something needs to change. And I agree with you. I mean, people should. I mean, dating is important. Meeting people is important. The apps when they first came out were supposedly addressing an inefficiency and people meeting each other with similar interests or whatever, and maybe that's drifted away.
No,
But
well, mating is down though also. So it's not like it suddenly got easier for people to meet significant others. That's not the answer. It's just that
yeah, just don't do it at work. That's all I have
people
to say.
are couch rotting rather than dating.
Something to keep an eye on.
Keep an eye on it. You're not your couch, but you know.
Yeah.
And that, I think those were our main topics. I think we can do heroes and zeros.
Great.
What do you think?
Yeah,
What
I
you
love
got?
heroes, and everybody loves heroes and zeros.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to jump in with my hero.
Go for it.
It's the big one.
I know it's
Anna
your
Win-
day. As I said, it's your day.
I know.
I know. There's a lot going on in your world.
Anna Wintour is stepping down
Right before this
as
podcast, it's
the
almost like she wanted
editor-in-chief.
us to talk about it.
I know. She's stepping down as the editor-in-chief of Vogue. She will retain her title as the global editorial director of Vogue and the chief content officer for Condé Nast, but she will no longer be the editor of American Vogue. This is seismic. Seismic. Her influence on fashion is unparalleled in my view. And I have to really applaud her. We see so many cases of people holding on past when it makes sense, like
A lot of them.
poor, Mitch McConnell, who was like Speaker of the House and like forgetting where he was in the midst of speaking.
Freezing.
Yeah, being just like,
Right.
Wish him well. But we see so many cases. Bob Iger going away, coming back. Like for Anna Wintour, always the pinnacle of style to be like, it's time. I'm opening the door for new talent. I just love it. Kudos to her. And I am dying to see if it's like one of her proteges. She is wonderful with grooming proteges. She just hired a protege of hers to be the new editor-in-chief of Vanity Fair, Marco Dauci. Or if she does an acqui-hire. Like, what if, I'm just putting it out there,
Wow.
what if
Really tying things together here.
Advanced publications or whatever they're. What's the macro company's name at this point? Is it Advanced?
Still Condé Nast.
Okay. All right. What if Condé Nast acquired Goop and put Gwyneth in as head of American Vogue?
Oh boy.
I mean, or not that, but like maybe.
Wow.
There's interesting things that could happen. I wonder if it's going to be a traditional choice or someone out of the box, because those are some pretty high heels to fill.
Well, when we get to next week's episode, you could tell us what your group chats are, who they're leaning towards.
Okay.
In choosing. I would say the Condé Nast, mode these past couple of years, they're probably not going to acqui-hire here. Okay. She's likely going to decide. One of the things you often see in these situations where a very powerful long-term executive leaves is they would like a hand in selecting the new person who takes on their legacy.
Leaving. She's going to be the boss.
She's leaving an important part of her job. Yeah.
Yes, but it's not like she's like, going to Palm Beach. She's going to be like.
She probably wouldn't go to Palm Beach.
No,
Too many Republicans there for.
Could be true. All right, who's your hero?
My hero is sort of the other end of the world, the sports world. And last night was the NBA draft. You may have known this or not. It was right here in New York, in Brooklyn. Three of the top 10. Well, I was supposed to be there, but a last-minute snafu prevented that. But
how did it go for the Knicks, which is what matters to us?
The Knicks didn't have a pick, but my alma mater, Duke, had 3 of the top 10 picks, including the top pick, Cooper Flagg. Very nice young man. And I would say that the reason I bring it up, not just because Duke basketball is great, but there's a lesson here for executives looking at a program like Duke basketball, which is known throughout the world and has a legacy and reputation built by Coach K and now carried on by Coach John Shire. People want to be there because it has a great reputation. And here you had 3 players who went top 10 in the NBA draft who could have gone anywhere else to be the number 1 guy themselves without 2 other guys who were top 10 picks. And they chose to go to Duke and play together because Duke has a great reputation.
And, so is this NBA draft or when people
NBA draft.
From the colleges?
From the colleges, right.
Okay.
Right. And so in the business world, reputation is so important. And in this time right now where companies really don't seem to be valuing their ongoing reputation with employees and customers, this is a good reminder that it is important in terms of attracting future talent and customers.
Invest in employer brand marketing. You will not regret it.
Right.
All right. My 0 is very obvious and clear, of course. Those cuties.
No, nothing is obvious and clear. There could be 20 zeros for you right now.
Those cuties on the Supreme Court just ruled.
Oh, yes.
That if you're on Medicaid and the best place for you to go, the most accessible, or the only place you could afford that is accessible, whatever the reason, if you want to go to a Planned Parenthood to get a pap smear, which many, many people do, get their basic gynecological needs taken care of at places like Planned Parenthood, you can no longer use Medicaid to pay for it. States are no longer required to let you use Medicaid to pay for services at an abortion provider's clinic, even if the service you're getting is not abortion. So that means, again, that it is that much harder for women to receive health care. That's the bottom line here. This actually has nothing to do with, in my mind, abortion. It's like physical proximity to an abortion. This is just making it harder for women to receive health care. And that is a big 0.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. There's a lot of technicalities to the case, obviously, but the end result.
Okay?
Yeah. The end result is that states don't have to provide money to Planned Parenthood if they don't want to, and individuals can't sue the states over it. And so the end result of that is the individuals are losing out on the service, which is exactly what happened with this woman in South Carolina. And I agree. It's a total 0.
Yep.
My 0 is a lot less serious because, I've been instructed
We
by
got a
him.
balance. That's good.
But I think you're going to like it. I think you're going to
Okay.
like it. My 0 is the Jeff Bezos, Lauren Sanchez wedding.
Why?
Because
I am so
I think,
entertained by all the
well,
pictures.
fine, be entertained, but this is just another example of why people hate ultra rich people. Because
Oh yeah, it's right here.
here you have Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez picking Venice, Italy, which is one of the most popular tourist destinations in the world,
Also overrun and about to sink.
smack in the middle of summer, which is prime tourist season, and basically shutting it down and screwing over everyone who wanted to go there and work there and visit. And you know what? That's just so arrogant to do that. Get married in April in Venice. Get married in September. Don't be such pricks and take over Venice in July. That's ridiculous.
I
So
think you're right, but also keep
good luck
that
on your marriage, but
content.
I think you're jerks.
I cannot get enough. I mean, the fact that right after announcing their divorce, Orlando Bloom is seen there hanging out with the Kardashians, and Katie's not there because she's on. I mean, just there's a lot of content coming our way, people.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard a lot of similar stories about Jeff Bezos. I mean, they just operate in a world where they don't care about anyone else. This is a prime example.
This is true. This is true. Also,
Yeah.
if you're watching and you're a billionaire planning a wedding,
You should clear it with me first. Obviously. I mean, look, if anyone needs a vice president of common sense and decency, please, give me a ring.
okay. Yes. All right, we're going to nominate you for that.
I'm happy
All
to
right.
perform those services.
All right. This is a good note to end on. Have a great weekend.
You too. We'll see you next week.